Right, so let's
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. Surprising that looked at it means like follower or something. But I guess lame. Yeah.
one, two, three. All right, hi fellas. We're gonna let's have a little. So let's have a little bit of discussion. If you have any questions, or now is the time to just. Now it's time to do a little bit of chatting and discussion if you would like to. So let's start the Q&A session. Let's do it. Would anyone have any questions or any topics or like discuss our follow-ups, please? Of course. So entire the part of me falling in love back with literature, going to humanities part a little bit, taking a break from School of Engineering. I guess that was the big inspiration of seeing the other side of things. It definitely gave me a little more perspective into that computer science or just like engineering or whatever we do all the time. It's not the end of all, It's not everything. It just, in the simplest terms, to show me there's more to life. And when I came back to computer science, I felt that in many ways, the way that it's built, the way the curriculum works, or academia and industry, the way that computer science is posed usually on us STEM students, it's very limiting. It doesn't really give you a breathing room into more creative outlets, into humanities. And I definitely start preaching a little bit that humanities are important and the artistic point of view is something that's missing. So this is the big inspiration. It's my literature major, it's my literature direction, it's my humanity part. How long have I been thinking about this? Well, I remember when I was taking some of the ECS classes, I was like, my God, this is horrible. I cannot wait to be done with comp sci. And then I was just thinking, but why am I feeling this way? What is causing this kind of not disgust, but definitely the love and passion that I lost for computer science. Where did it come from? And after looking at it, I definitely this was the big topic, is the crunch and just everything. And I've been thinking just in general about it for about maybe a year and a half, 2 years since I've taken my break, and then actively just. So this talk was supposed to be like a month or 2 months ago, has been postponed multiple times due to different various conflicts, and and it was even for a better actually. So I was actively thinking about maybe for a month-ish. I talked to probably 15, 20 people before this, just like refining the idea, refining what I'm going to talk about, the logical flow, the flow of thoughts and arguments, as in starting the presentation with or starting the talk with the reasoning why I was interested in the topic in the first place, and then going on to this whole tangent of, oh, is computer science engineering? No, is it math? Is it humanities? Is it science? Or is it art? So just going from that and coming to the conclusion, comp sci is not it. It's not anything in specific. So definitely that whole section took about 2-3 weeks of just active like mental refining, just mental thinking about it. And I spent just a day on making the presentation and just kind of laying it out. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love to think. Oh my God, it's one of my favorite things ever. On my website, if you go there, I write blogs, I write analyses on many different things, like, what is love, what is literature, just because it's topics in that sense, they interest me a lot. I'm very interested in philosophy. My literature courses and like my whole humanity direction, because I have to take a lot of philosophy, culture classes, and language and everything. It's definitely makes you, think that way and shape your forms and thoughts in that specific direction. So I guess to answer your questions precisely, it's a constant process. It's an always constant process, never ending. So, after this, I'll be thinking about it just in my own vein. But I really, really wanted to make some kind of more of a public statement of those. Yes, a little bit public statement and thoughts onto what I think computer science should be and what it's actually not right now. Or at least it is, but it's misunderstood in many ways. Show the beauty of it. That there's more to it. There's more to life. There's more to life, definitely. Oh, does that answer the question? Oh, thank you, thank you. Not gonna lie, actually, some of the slides for some reason got swapped. So I was like, well, without chaos, it's no life without chaos, right? Rolled in. But yes, thank you, I appreciate it. And it's something I feel more people should think about, and it was interesting to me because I'll say this will sound rather harsh, but a lot of people that was talking about my ideas about refining it, and trying to get the thought process, the logic, and everything. A lot of replies I got from people I was talking to is they asked me, why should I care about this at all? Why should I care at all about the beauty of, or art or computer science being more of a creative outlet? Well, why does it matter to me? I'm just going to be a corporate drone for the next 30 years and retire and live and do whatever. It doesn't make me too happy when I hear stuff like that, because it's in my understanding personal, I think it's a little bit too limiting, because there's no point in just working and wasting yourself away for some reward at the end, because that reward might never come, and you might never even live the second of your life, which will be a big waste and regret at the end. So for people not to feel that regret, not to feel that they wasted their only shot at life, which is YOLO, I wish that more people will think about, I want to say, higher value priorities of living life, instead of just constantly following some plan or something they built for themselves or someone else built for themselves without their own input. Because you should make your life your own. And the only way to do it is to ask tough questions of yourself and just everyone around you. Trying to find what's you. And we're always on that path. You'll never get like the answer. It's a question that you'll never get the answer, but it's paramount and fundamental to strive to it. It's like, think of it like an asymptote, You'll never get to it, well, you'll get infinitely close. And the more closer you get, the more fulfilled you feel. Because, of course, now, academics say, oh, academia is fulfilling, I do what I love doing. Lots of academics are miserable, not gonna lie, miserable. It's a defense mechanism for them to say that it's unfulfilled. They're not. And so how do we stay fulfilled? How do we stay alive and not burn ourselves out, on every single second? It's by having some outlets. Because I burned myself bad. There was a time I didn't want to even think about anything engineering, and I'm still burned, frankly. Still very much burned. And that whole recovery, it's long and painful, and it's better if you think about those things ahead, I would say. At the end, the final point, I guess, I was trying to drive home with all the arguments, the whole talk, everything, is that live your life. An emphasis on your. Be free, A lot of people are in computer science when they probably shouldn't be. It's nothing bad. I'm not saying it's not a thing bad if it's your thing, if it's not your thing, but please be true to yourself. That's the big point. So it transcends the art of computer science just a little bit, but it is closely related as we all are in the same kind of, pot and stew. Does that answer the question? Yes.
If you were to go back over your, now almost 4 years of undergrad, or even really most of your life, I guess, is there anything that you would do differently, or something that you wish you would have taken a different route? Not in the sense of you're unhappy where you are now, but wish I would have done that better because I would have enjoyed X thing more?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Um, Whether I would want to do anything differently, I mean, the instant answer for me, because I've thought about it a lot, is no. I would do nothing differently, and I would like to say that I have no regrets. No regrets in life. The only way to live, and I do believe in it. No, having no regrets is great, but we all do. We all have regrets, over one thing or another. However, we shouldn't feel that. At least I don't feel even with regrets. You should have that. Wish to change anything in the past. Past already happened. If you dwell on the past, if you sit and think about, if this one, if this and this way, this would have happened. First of all, you have no clue what actually would have happened. You can plan your life for the next second, from 5 minutes for tomorrow, or you can plan your life for the next 10 years. I'll go work at this place. I'll get married at this age. I'll have this many kids at this time, and everything can go shabackle tomorrow. Life always changes. And it's unpredictable. You never know what will happen around the corner. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen tonight, frankly. I have no clue. And many people find disturbance in that life is unpredictable, that life can change any moment. But I feel that people should be liberated by that. You should find peace, that life is so unpredictable. That's what gives it joy. That's what makes it life. That's what makes it so sacred. And thank you for coming. And precious is that it's alive, it's moving. So would I want to change anything? No. Of course, I can think that if I did this differently, I might have been happier. But then I think to myself, I don't know that. I might have been miserable, or any other way. Of course, and thinking that way is a great way to drive yourself insane. It definitely is if you dwell on everything. If I could have done that, if I could have done this, you're stuck in the past. You're not living in the present and blocking the future, which a lot of people are. Majority of people live that way, and I thought of giving this talk. Maybe not a lot of people will share my sentiment, and that's okay. That's understandable. I hope that maybe even if a single person, maybe not now, in a year, 5 years, 10 years, if they remember anything from this, or just anything echoes of the thoughts and the sentiment that I tried to build here, I consider that a success. Even just a single person I know in 10, 20 years brings them back, and they think of something and they feel that it is true, then it is success. Because whatever you build now, even people that say, "Oh, we're just going to be a corporate drone," you may think it now. You never know what's going to happen. You never know how you're going to think in a year, in 5 years, 10 years. I was sure I want to go to graduate school, and I realized I'm going to be miserable there. Lots of my friends, they were sure they're going to be medics when they were 18, and 22, not so much. I had, there are a lot of people that they were sure they're going to be like lawyers when they were like 22 graduating. Never worked a day, finished law school, never worked a day as a lawyer in their entire lives. And that's okay. It's okay. But make it your own. Only then you will live. Well, it's just a thought. Thank you, but it's nothing worth of that. It's nothing worthy of that. It's just me talking. Of I guess my thought process of how I think and view things, and this is the way that I think things. And definitely reading literature, especially, for example, in literature, I specialize in classic Russian literature of 19th century, with the greats as Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Pushkin, Gogol, and those are like books that, like, they're in that sense that if you read them too much, they're damaging to the psyche. So they definitely make you think about a lot of things, and find peace with yourself, with who you are, with your thoughts, who you want to be, and life itself. It's not an easy thing, and no one will probably ever learn, but it's I would say the most important thing to strive to. Again, it's okay if you don't share the opinions, that's absolutely okay. I'm actually happy. In the end of all, when you leave this lecture hall, go with life and do other things. Live your life, You may like the thoughts here, you may not like, and that's okay. Just make that decision your own. Anyone has any other? Please, Babik.
What's some advice that your seniors give you that stuck with you?
Seniors advice that seniors gave me. That's a good one. Well, I'll just preface with that. If it weren't for the seniors that were very kind to me and for some reason want to be friends with this, boy, and the freshman year, I would have been a friend with myself back then, if I were looking now. It's definitely the kindness and the least, and they told me, at least I think to myself now, the least we can do is pass on the kindness, the generational knowledge, some of things that we learned, even our little wisdom that we have, but that we do, to pass on to younger generations. Because it's progress only if the people that follow us, if the younger people, the younger generation, if they are better than us, then that's progress. A lot of people get very, for some reason, jealous, and they want the younger people be smarter than them. I would love the younger generation, younger people be smarter than me, because in my mind, that's progress. That means we're progressing. If people that are coming after me are better than me, that's good. That's good. That's peace for me. And so the advice, it was definitely the advice of passing on, and frankly, live life, have a good life, go to parties, take classes you want to take. If you want to take another major, explore the major, do projects, because they're also very practical as well. A lot of, again, as I said, the grades of our graduating classes every year, and across all the 3 years I know, the greatest students in our graduating classes all went to elite shops. All went to elite shops again. Microsoft, they went to Google, they went to Amazon, they went to all the grades. And how did they go? They all had something behind them. They all had experience because, again, they did some personal projects. They worked on something they were interested in. And that was just an open door welcome. Because for every, literally, I will even say as much as for every 60 people, every 60 graduates that did nothing with their time and degree, just explore and live life and just pursue it for money or something, there's one grade. And it's rather better to be in the grades than just in the masses and not be able to find a good job. Looking very practical. So they did advise me, never force me to do anything, but only advice. That's the best we can do. Is do something of our own, learn, read history again, because I know I get a kick out of reading some old things from 60s and 70s, but people tried, it worked, it didn't work, reading some old interviews. I just get a kick out of that. I was like, oh my God, that's been tried? I was just thinking about this, Well, now glad I know that's been tried. It's not because I'm not going to try it, but because now I have the better foundation to try it even better. So if you find that passion in yourself, then you are a computer scientist. It's that core. You have to develop it. The core, even though how much I was burnt on computers, I was just burned, couldn't look at it. The only thing that really made me stuck by it more, stick by it, is the core that you can find in it, as in the logic, the beauty of expressing your thoughts and ideas, the very essence of it. If you can find that essence of whatever for yourself, even no matter how much you burn, you still have something to hold on to. You still have something that makes it appealing to you. If you have that, you'll always find your way. And it doesn't apply to just computer science. It applies to everything. Everything that we talked in this discussion session applies to everything. If you have any technical specific questions, I would love to talk about them too. It's not meant to be just purely philosophical. I can talk about philosophy for a very long time, but we'll try to time it a little bit. Anyone has any questions about? Yes?
What is say the past year, what is your favorite like sort of like new technology or new like thing you discovered in terms of like kind of a more technologically focused
Hmm.
field?
I love security and cryptography, and I learned there's this thing called homomorphic encryption, which what it is, let's say you have data, and you need to like process it, right? Like do some math, analyze everything, and let's say you have the data, but the processing unit that does all the analysis is like another entity that you have to send it to, and it's sensitive. What would you do? You would encrypt the data, right? Send it over to them. They decrypt it. They do some stuff. They encrypt it back and send it back to you. But imagine if the processing unit that you're sending it to, whoever is doing the analysis, is untrusted. You don't trust them, but you need to do analysis. How do you do that? I'm sorry? Exactly. And that's what homomorphic encryption is. It's a crazy thing that even with the data being encrypted, you can still do like math and analysis on it. Which I think is kind of crazy, because dabbling in cryptography a little bit, I took Math 601, probably the hardest class I ever took in my entire life. If you are eligible for Math 601 next semester, and if it's not full, highly recommend taking it. It's the rarest class in the math department. It appears only once every 2-3 years, and probably after the next semester will disappear for like a decade, probably. That's the general thought. It's the most amazing, like computationally oriented math class you can take, Math 601. For me, the one I took was 2 years ago. It was cryptography oriented, and it was so much fun. And by knowing the intricacies and like all the stuff happening in cryptography world, being able to do homomorphic encryption is crazy cool. It's crazy cool. Another fun invention, like when you open web pages now, because everything is built on React and like Angular or whatever, instead of they send you like a JS file that renders the page for you, right? So now basically everything is just a JS bundle and they send to you. Some people thought to themselves, what if we send HTML instead? Some people thought to themselves, what if we send HTML instead to render pages? And it's a new hottest thing in JavaScript world now, HTML over the wire. They're like, instead of sending HTML into JavaScript, let's send HTML instead. And that's what happens when people reinvent the wheel all the time. they go back to the problem that was solved like in 1990s, and they're like, let's redo it. But it is better. Same thing. You probably heard of NoSQL. NoSQL has been tried and failed, like in early 2000s, in like 80s and 90s. It was trying to fail, and people realized that it's unmaintainable. It's like whenever the thing grows, the maintenance of that data is hard. The updates are hard. Everything is unstructured, so therefore it's a nightmare. And everyone just abandoned it, said SQL is great, like PostgreSQL, MySQL, everything. And then Mongo came in, and they were like, "Oh, you ever heard this thing called NoSQL? it's like SQL, but like without it." And they tried it, and it was the hottest thing. Everyone blew up, and people were like, "This is the greatest invention of humanity that anyone came up with." And now everyone hates Mongo. All the companies avoid like plague, and like the big companies that can afford are migrating away from Mongo to like back to SQL. And test and try. NoSQL fails. NoSQL is good if you just like want some like rush in your life, probably. I don't know, some adrenaline. Yeah, sure, it's cool, learning this and that. I used Mongo. My startup that I founded with my friend, we used Mongo. I'm never touching that thing again. I am never using that. It worked great at the beginning, but then its maintenance and making it like extending it and trying to make sense of the data that's stored in there, nightmare. The company I worked for was SkyCube. They also used Mongo, and everyone loathed it. People were like, in 2-3 years, when we have enough in engineering power and like time, and if time just stops for like a year, we'll move it all to SQL. It's, again, many things have been tried in the past, failed, people try to retry it, and they think it's the greatest thing ever, and it fails again. But maybe one thing that failed in the past will succeed. I don't know, maybe that's the gamble we're taking. But the cool things in the past I learned, give me 5-10 seconds to think about it. There are a lot of cool things published, but they're all usually just derivatives. Nothing very new, you know, like a new model of a neural network found. Wow, wow. You can make images 1% sharper now. Crazy, crazy. Like a human eye can see that. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, for example, I'll probably the last thing for this question. I rediscovered for myself fuzzing. Do you all know what fuzzing means? So let's say you wrote a function that does something. It takes a string and it returns a string, right? Let's say you wrote a JSON encoder, which means that you give it a value and it just spits like a value, something modified to it. How do you usually test it? What's the regular traditional way of testing whether your function works or not? Exactly. So you build unit tests or just test cases, right? You give it the input and you say for this given input, I have to get the specified output. You just do it by hand or something, right? And you see if it fails in some of the tests, it means it's working incorrectly. Fuzzing is another way of testing, but instead of giving good input, it basically randomizes the input. What it's doing is trying to find the edge cases that you would not be able to think of in your whatever function you're doing or the thing you're testing over. Fuzzing, it tries basically almost random space of inputs. So we can generate like 100,000 different inputs per second, millions of inputs per second, and it's trying to crash your function. Like to find the horrible ways, like horrible input that will kill it, that you can never think of. I'm sorry? Well, what? Oh yeah, exactly. Fuzzing is very powerful. The whole Linux kernel, one of the most powerful testing suites of Linux kernel, how it's being tested, is fuzzing. What they do, they basically fuzz over the. Fuzzing, or specifically the testing, is fuzzy testing. It's extremely powerful. It's basically, if I give your function a garbage input, can I fail it? Can I just crash it, kill it? And it's very powerful. A lot of all the modern languages, why are they so reliable? Why is C++ like horrible, but why is it so good? Again, C++, Golang, Python, they're all fuzzy tested. They try to find, let's say, inputs or just source code that is accepted by the compiler, but will crash it. Like it's valid code, but it kills it. For example, a long time ago, I think, do you know what? This looks permanent. Do you know what char means in C? This is XOR operation. Yeah, it's basically just a bitwise XOR. You know, you give 1 1 0 0, will give 0, 0 1 1 0 will give you 1. And they gave basically a Go compiler and a C compiler. I think this input they said A equals 0 and XOR like 1 or some input like that. This is acceptable, right? You just constantly XORing it. But the compiler parsed it out. It looked at it. It was like, looks good to me. Let's run the thing. And even before being able to compile, a compiler died. The entire suite crashed, which should never happen. And what happened is that every time compiler is trying to optimize the XOR, and for that they're using registers. And what happened that when you stack 7 XORs in the sequence or more, you exhaust the number of temporary registers you can use. So compiler just basically ran out of registers and it died. It panicked. It just and only fuzzing can find this, because no sane person would ever do this. This is not the edge case that you just think about when you start testing your compiler or your function. Fuzzy testing can find the most ridiculous way your function fails, crashes, or produces an incorrect output. And fuzzing is very powerful because of that. If you ever have interviews you probably have already had interviews for internships, or you are having or will have when you apply next semester, which I highly recommend, even if you're a freshman, highly recommend. If you talk about stuff like fuzzy testing, everything, it's very impressive. To recruiters and whatever people you talk, it's very, very impressive knowledge if you actually know what you're talking about. If you give examples, it's great. They'll say, dude, man, a freshman, you know what fuzzy testing is? We better take him or her. So, very powerful tool. Linux kernel, why is Linux kernel so powerful? Why even the International Space Station runs on it? Because again, it's been fuzzy tested all over. Many things of it have. Because language is always fuzzy testing. A quick note I'm gonna make to people that are taking compilers right now, the best way to grab all the points for finding bugs in a compiler is to fuzzy over Drew's compiler and fail a professor's. If you fuzzy over professor's compiler, you can find all the bugs and you'll get like infinite number of extra credit points. And that's what one person did. Like 3 years ago, there was one person, Andre Q8, who took Drew's compilers in compilers class, and he ran a fuzzy, he ran a fuzzy testing on Drew's compiler, and basically just snatched every single code without like testing anything manually. He just found functions or like proper inputs that failed the compiler. So this is not new either. This is like 70s, 80s, but now it's just coming back in style, because now computers are powerful enough to do fuzzy testing efficiently. Because it's randomized space, the probability of you actually hitting like a bad input is very low. So unit tests are deterministic, right? If you have 100 tests, you'll run 100 tests and finish. Fuzzy testing is non-deterministic. Fuzzy testing will run indefinitely until you stop it. You can tell fuzzy tester like, oh, run like 10 iterations, like, you know, or run like 1 billion input cases and stop or something. So fuzzy testing is indeterministic, but it's great. It's very powerful. So I guess I rediscovered for myself, and I was playing with it, and I was like, my God, this is powerful. So, and it's definitely come back in style. So I think it's a really, really fun tech that I found. Again, fuzzy testing is not pure, the input space is not uniformly distributed. So it means it's not just random. If it were just random things, it would be very inefficient, because the random space is huge. What they're doing, you can give it some seed input, like a pattern of how to do it, like a pattern of a language or something, and I'll try to follow that and fuzzy over a pattern, basically, over a seed. Oh, yeah, I mean, this is a little bit different. Yeah, seed, I mean, like a given pattern of like, you know, make a pattern that looks like a language that I'm trying to fuzz over. But speaking of like random numbers specifically, yeah, true randomness does not exist. True randomness does not exist. Everything, even if you see cryptographically secure random number generators, those are just cryptographically secure. It does not mean they're truly random. It just means they're more random than pseudo-random, more random than just, you know, whatever your regular thing can do. But true randomness does not exist for many reasons, because nature is built that way. Nothing in nature is random. Even if you like read whatever strange quarks, flips and rotations, even they're actually not random apparently. So true randomness does not exist just in the fabric of our universe, in the fabric of nature. It's not a thing. Therefore, everything we can do is just build strong randomizers. But yeah, that was just a tangent. But it's a fun note. It's a fun note. Yes.
I think that if we're talking about security stuff, we're talking about like Linux. I heard an interesting saying that the Linux kernel is becoming too bloated with a bunch of stuff that makes it a large enough attack surface to be kind of unmanageable to maintain securely. And people are like trying to push for the BSD kernel over the Linux kernel. I just want to know, what do you think about that?
It's been a thing for decades.
Okay.
It's been a thing for decades. Of course, any systems that are getting large and complex enough will increase its attack surface. You know, the feature creep, which is you just overcoming the system, and Linux is very prone to that. Linux is massive. Linux is not the cute little operating system it was in 1991, published by a University of Helsinki student. It's massive. It's used everywhere, but it's a necessary evil. There is a reason for that, because more systems required to run on Linux. It needs to support more and more things, and it's necessary evil. And of course, it's going to be always. Yep, thank you. It's an ecosystem. Windows, Linux, BSD, and then we'll move to something like Haiku or something next. It's just a cycle of life. So it's a good as a bad? No, it's just how it is. And maybe Linux will be replaced something like BSD because it's a little bit more tighter in the core. If it happens, it happens. It's just it goes in. Facebook was the biggest social network, and Facebook will die in 3-4 years definitely. Like Facebook is dead. Tesla we'll be we'll be talking how Tesla went bankrupt like in 5 years. We'll be talking how SpaceX went bankrupt in like probably 5 years too. So it's a nature of life, Everything has an end. Everything is finite. Nothing is infinite. MySpace was big, dead. Facebook was big, on the deathbed. Greatest civilizations, Mansa Empire, just Byzantine Empire. They thought their eternal Roman Empire thought that it's the empire that will be here forever. A lot of people don't even know about them. A lot of people don't remember about them. It's okay. It's the nature of life. And same thing with us, For example, will I be a computer scientist my whole life? I don't know. Maybe yeah, maybe not. Maybe I'll go herd sheep when I'm like 50, 60. I don't know. But it's okay. Life goes on. So I guess the answer to that question is, it's okay. Whatever happens, happens. That's my philosophy. And there's nothing we can do about it. As François de Chateaubriand, a great French diplomat and philosopher and writer of 18th, 19th century, said, forests precede civilizations and deserts follow them. It's a cycle of life. Will Linux go out? Oh yeah, definitely. We'll stop being the most used programming language? Definitely. Will there be a new great thing? Yeah. And there'll be another new great thing after that thing is dead too. So. And if it doesn't go like that, then something's wrong. Everything has to refresh. Everything has to mutate, improve. There are dark ages, golden ages, and it's okay. So, frankly, I'm indifferent to it. I'm indifferent to it. This is fun. I must say, I love this. I just love talking. People that know me closely, they know that. I can. They know that. One of the big thoughts I came to. Oh my God! One of the big things I came to recently. You have to don't forget breathing properly is important. So, people in our time they breathe. I mean, breathing is important. Cindy. Breathing properly is a lost art. We breathe too fast and too much. Breathing too fast and too much, our lungs contract and come back too quick, which weakens the heart and also increases the blood pressure and the stress levels of our bodies. Whenever why do people during panic attacks, breathe very, very quickly? Because the pressure went up, and it's a bad cycle to have. And we breathe, again, in modern ages, ever since industrial age, we breathe too quickly and too much, too shallow and too quickly. Instead, we have to breathe more deeply and a little bit slower too, which allows you to relax, allows you to be, I would say, relaxed even during stressful situations, if you can breathe properly. It's a lost art. Lots of old Taoist books that are like 1,000, 2,000 years old. They talked about it, that breathing was not just a thing you do to live. It was directly correlated to happiness, to quality of life, in terms of how you breathe. Best breathing technique, 5.5 seconds inhale, 5.5 seconds exhale. You take exactly 5.5 breaths per minute, and you take about 5.5 liters per breath as well. And do it. It's just a single, small thought I had. It's good. Whenever I'm stressed and nervous, I try to control the breathing, and everything just goes away. It does help. It does help a lot. Lots of reports, people that were in depression, or they had stress, or they're going through hard times. Some doctors prescribe you breathing lessons. You sit in a room for like an hour and you just breathe. Incredible results. Incredible. I mean, it just takes you to like other worlds. But that's just me nerding over breathing. Anyone has any questions? So I know I can go on long tangents, and if you have to go somewhere you don't say it's absolutely thing. And I want to thank you all for coming. Would anyone have any questions? Just anything talk about and make this the longest ACM meeting in history, and keep it that way. You'll be like a small like KU Guinness record, the longest club meeting.
That would be 2 hours. I mean, what's the longest ACM meeting so far?
Well,
Yeah.
well, I must confess, I love talking. For example, I find it's my passion. It's my passion to talk to people. I love people, adore them, and to be able to talk to people, to express ideas, exchange them, and think about. Oh my God, it's the best thing ever. I love it. It's it's the greatest thing. So, and I want to thank you for just sitting through. Maybe this might be very, very uninteresting to you, and that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. But I just want you to know that I thank you for being here and sticking in. I really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Just anything on your mind. The craziest thing. What's my favorite color? I don't know. Or what you think about some things. Or if you really don't agree with something, feel free. Have your hand up, Ethan?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Crazy.
So, earlier you told me you like to live in lots of different places all over the world. What is your favorite place? I think we might have talked about this one or like maybe besides like where is your favorite place that you've like been to?
That's another great question. And I have an answer just for that. It's right here and right now. Wherever I am right now, my favorite place. It's always the present. It's always now. I mean, yeah, I did travel a little bit. My parents work as diplomats, so I was frankly fortunate enough to have the opportunity to travel around the world and live in different places. And it's great. And whenever people ask me what was my favorite place to go, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I loved living in different, here and there, great memories. But the best time is right here and right now, wherever I am. Doesn't matter, is it here in Lawrence, Kansas, in the great LFK, or is it somewhere, I don't know, deep in Iowa? It's wherever you are right now. I'm sorry? Oh yeah, wherever you are right now, I think that's the best place. Yes?
What's the second best place?
No, that's a question. That's a good question. What's the second best place? I have very, very fond memories of, I used to live in Bulgaria for 4 years, in the capital of Sofia. Very fond memories. I went to school, my first grade was there, second grade was there, and 2 years of kindergarten, which is preschool. It was very fond memories. I was a kid back then. I'm not implying I'm like old right now or anything, but it was great. It was just very fond memories from that time. Yes.
Which old places have you been?
Hey, Ethan. I used to live in Kazakhstan, Russia, Bulgaria, UK, Armenia, US, and just other places just visited. It's fun. It's fun. Just if you're ever scared of traveling out, I relate. I traveling out is still a big hassle, but it's fun. I definitely recommend. Just if the time, what? If the time allows, if the funds allow, basically, go and travel. Just go to different places. No, and don't be just a tourist. I mean, being a tourist is fine for the first time, but the other times, if you really want to like experience being and living different places, because it might feel, if you've never went outside of US, going to different countries will feel like going on a different planet, frankly. And it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. It's refreshing because at the end of the day, you learn that no matter what place, what continent, what part of the world you are, those are just people. Nothing more, nothing less. Just people. Everyone's the same. Every country, frankly, is the same. Every culture echoes each other deeply. Well, everyone's the same in terms of we all share the same human experience of being human. Very abstract. I know it's very zoomed out. Of course, the culture difference, historical, that's what makes us interesting. But overall, you just see that everyone's just a human, just people, not aliens from different planets, not here and there. Because as some people like to be very divisive about that, we all share the fundamental human experience of living, at least trying to live. If you talk to me in person and we have time, oh my God, I'll talk to you for like 6 hours nonstop. Yes. Wow. We thoughts? I'm just. Can you read thoughts? Wow, I don't know. We had some telepathic people here. You want my honest opinion or smoothed out? Would you like my honest opinion or a little bit smoothed out? Honest opinion, I think people that are pessimistic are naive. Because having a pessimistic outlook on life means that you are angry or annoyed or you're complaining about the world, other people, or something being unjust to you, the others around you, or just something. Pessimism is driven by the feeling that you didn't get what you deserved or someone else deserved. But usually it's about yourself, what you didn't deserve. And to expect, and I feel expecting something from the world, feeling that the world is obligated to give you something, is obligated to be something for you. That the fact that world owes you anything is naive. First of all, because world was here before you. You can't expect anything like that. You can't make the world. You can't make you can't make anyone else or the world feel obligated or they owe something to you. And that's the root cause of all pessimism. That people feel that they didn't get something they wanted, like a kid that didn't get a candy they asked their mom to buy. Pessimism is definitely it's a deep topic too. Of course, pessimism it's naive, foolish, it's childish. It's the kid inside of you crying that F those people. It's a very negative outlook on life. Very negative outlook on life, and I'm okay with that. Like again, I'm not saying that it's bad or good. This is just purely expressing my opinion. It's not affiliated with anyone or anything. Just purely my opinion. Let me just get the thought back real quick. Everyone falls into pessimism. I get pessimistic too. Even whatever harsh things I say about it. It doesn't make me above it or anything. I'm still in the heat of it, quite frequently too. People that think that being dude, you're so pessimistic. No, I'm just being a realist. It's such an entitled and arrogant way of thinking, that by projecting your pessimism, by projecting your judgment on others, your feeling of obligation someone owes you, and that you didn't get what you deserve from other people, and calling that's the way to live, that's the way that the world works, it's harmful. It's harmful to yourself and other people. It's okay to slip into pessimism. Pessimism gives you perspective. It gives you a little bit of perspective to get back from it. However, too much pessimism it's a slippery slope. It's a straight way into depression. And depression is a very, very scary thing, because depression is not just your mood, just you're not in the mood, you're feeling down, you're feeling tired. Depression if you don't know, depression is a very scary thing. It fundamentally rewires how your brain works. It produces even the chemical production in your brain. And pessimism is not something that a person can just snap out of. Depression takes years, decades sometimes, to get out of it. How fundamentally changes you. And pessimism is just straight in there. And if someone is pessimistic or depressionist, then it's their choice. You have to let people live the lives that they chose to live. I'm not trying to preach to say, you should live this way or this way, that way. All I'm trying to do is just an opinion, again. Draw your own conclusions. Draw your own conclusions. But make it your own life. Whether you decide to be pessimistic or depressionistic and you don't agree and you think that what I say is even arrogant and everything, that's okay too. It's one's opinion. And they just have to live by it. But I would rather live not being pessimistic nor depressed. I feel it's more fulfilling. It's better for the mind, better for the psyche, and better for the soul. Better and helps you to build that mental stability. Pessimism also weakens the mental strength very much. You're not able to handle stress. You're not able to handle even regular things.
I also think if you're optimistic about things, it just makes stuff more enjoyable in general. And I feel like you're more apt to get something, like if you have to go through the experience of anything, why not go about them with a positive manner? You're more apt to get something valuable out of it or derive something of value for yourself or just have a good time as opposed to kind of setting yourself up for failure.
Well, exactly. You ramp yourself up, And you know what? I'll say this: it's okay too. If you think the other way, if you're personally, that's okay too. That's your path. That's that's what you've chosen to do. You just depend. I have a recommendation on pessimism and optimism. I highly recommend to read Candide by Voltaire, the classical Enlightenment era philosopher. Highly recommend. It's a small story. It's a short story. It's a very thin book. Highly recommend reading Candide. It's called Candide in French original. It's called Candide ou l'Optimisme. So it's Candide or Optimism, and it's instead of me just talking about it for a very long time, Candide talks a lot about the value of optimism. What is optimism? What does it mean to be optimistic? And it's a very divining book, to say the least. But it's Voltaire's, who I think is the greatest philosopher maybe of all time. That's his magnum opus, which magnum opus stands for the best literary work produced, or the best work produced by an individual, the peak work. Yeah. On the topic of pessimism, optimism, is that, and again, if you're optimistic, if you're pessimistic, if you choose to be either way, that's okay. I'm not criticizing pessimists. At least that's not my intention, or optimists or anything. A little bit devil's advocate here and there. Just choose what you want to be. Does that answer the question? Yeah. My opinion is that it's okay to be pessimist. It's better to be an optimist.
And as you kind of think, you don't necessarily have to put yourself in one case either. Sometimes, it's okay to be pessimistic sometimes. All the time
Exactly.
may not be helpful. It's like, I feel like, at least the more I think about things, just in general, things are a lot more gray than I ever thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard to say, I am X thing all of the time.
Oh yeah.
Like things shift a lot.
computer science fully a science or fully an art? Right. Looped right back, right? Nice quote. Looped right back. Yes, yes. Be everything. Live life. Be an optimist.
Really want to describe myself or like assign adjectives to myself because I just don't know how to describe myself. Because I just feel like kind of this, kind of that.
Yeah, don't play labels. Don't play labels. It's like, yeah, don't play labels. Make it more natural. Live, be fluid. Live in the fluidity. It's like new couples. Like it's like, so what are we? Like we've been dating. Are we like girlfriend, boyfriend, or something? It's like that kind of question. Don't put labels just for the sake of putting labels. And why should you? Why should you? You're just gonna. I've tried to do it. Only drives you more insane. There's one way to categorize yourself. There's one thing that is true about yourself. It's you. That's the one category. It's just you. And it's the best thing. I know. I'll play devil's advocate. It may sound again naive and foolish to say, "Oh yeah, of course me is me." But you got to dig a little bit deeper into what does it mean to be me. A lot. Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, this was not the goal of the talk, as a lot of people here were seniors. But I would highly, highly recommend a lot of computer scientists take more sociology, humanity-based classes, or maybe even do some humanity. Really liberates you in terms of the way you think. And sometimes I feel I don't have a lot of people in my department in computer science talk about things I care about, as in philosophy, and makes me, I go out of my way, but it's more fulfilling. Makes me more aware. Well, I'm sorry?
What's your favorite humanity class that you take?
It was called Slav 679. It was my literature class I took, 101, with Professor Wallo from the Slavic Language and Literatures Department in my specialization. And my class, all I did in my class was just 101. I would read books and talk about them with the professor. I read 3 books. I read Eugene Onegin by Pushkin. I read Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol. And I read Barda Karamazov by Fyodor Mikhailovich, by Dostoevsky, basically. Probably the hardest class I took. Because that class, It's Barda Karamazov is a 1,000-page book. It's a 1,000-page book, novel. 500,000 words, probably. And the professor, made me read in 3 weeks. I was reading like 6-7 hours every single day after work. I was also working full-time at that point. She almost killed me. I told her at the end, "Professor, you almost killed me." She's like, "I know." That was my punishment. I don't know what the crime was, but I got my punishment. And that was my favorite humanity class. Just maybe out all of our classes, probably favorite class that I took, because definitely shattered my soul. I definitely just, it was the state that I hope no one sees themselves in, but it was just shattered state. That was great. What an experience to be alive, to be human, to feel that, to feel emotions. Oh my God. That's why, that's why we talk to people. That's why we date. That's why it's all existing. It's to feel emotions, to feel human. And, if you ever want to read Barda Karamazov, I highly recommend, but be careful. Be careful. I'll just say this about Barda Karamazov. I've read a lot of books, and if you ask me, so all the books in existence, like everything ever written in the history of humanity, imagine this pile here. I would say Barda Karamazov just here. It's in this. I can't even say. I refuse to believe a human can write something like that. I refuse to believe. I convinced a lot of people to read it, and so, Brothers Karamazov. It's the best book I finished reading the book, and I told myself, this is the best book I've ever read in my life, and I'll never read anything better. And I still know that, and it gives me peace. It doesn't make me sad, I'm not going to read anything better, but it gives me peace. You read the book, it's not even a book, I refuse to believe a human can write something like that. I believe that a single human being has that depth of soul to write anything like that. I refuse to believe a human is capable of writing anything like that. It's still, it's insane to me. If you read it, you'll know.
That feeling upon first reading it, or like after reading it and then looking back at it and then
All the way through, baby. Just like beginning, middle, the end. And it's been like months and months ever since, and all the way through. All the way through. I'm refusing to read anything Dostoevsky related for probably a couple of years, just to recover. Just to recover. But it's you read. I feel like I lived like an entire lifetime. It feels like I lived a life just by reading it. It's insane. And every single person, and the very few people in the world that read Brother Karamazov, that's Dostoevsky's magnum opus. That's his last work. He published the book, and he passed away 2 months later. Because if you write something like that, there's nothing left of you. Like there's nothing left in you.
He said no human could write that book, so maybe after he wrote it, they're like, okay, you can't be a human anymore.
Well, I mean, he died of exhaustion, basically, just a heart attack.
Right.
No, it was published 2 months before he died. And again, if you write something like that, there's nothing left in you. There will be nothing left in your soul. There's no life force to live. This is a lethal work, but the greatest work I've ever written. It's big. It will be big commitment for sure if you start to read it, and if you do have the courage, frankly, the courage to start reading something like that, I would recommend starting when you have time. Winter break, summer, or something, right? Sometime when you have time, and commit to it. Commit to it. If you don't commit to it, there's no point. There's no point. You have to go from beginning till the end. Again, every single person I talked to that read Brother Karamazov, and there's very, very few people. I've only met 2 people in my life, except my professor, that ever read it. Out of like millions. It's the same opinion. You live a lifetime. And I can talk about the Karamazov for the rest of just life, non-stop, because there's so much, but I'm not going to do that. And if you want to do it, read it. And Brother Karamazov is the favorite book of all the greatest Western authors. Nietzsche, that all the 14-year-olds love to quote on Reddit, that completely misunderstand Nietzsche and misquote him all the time. Nietzsche read Brother Karamazov, and he founded his basically philosophy on Brother Karamazov. Nietzsche's philosophy is just a tiny part what's covered in here. He just took this little part and lived it here. Sigmund Freud. I'm not a fan of Sigmund Freud, but Sigmund Freud, after reading Brother Karamazov, he said that this is the greatest piece of literature just ever written. And he wrote like 5 volumes of psychoanalysis of Dostoevsky, the author. And it's like this many books just after reading Brother Karamazov. Albert Einstein, he read Brother Karamazov, and he said this is the supreme summit of all literature. And he held that opinion for like 20 years until the day he passed. So, good literature is hard to find. And good literature is usually by referrals as well. The ones that actually do by referrals.
Oh, yes, it's true.
The greatest literature is always passed down by referrals. I was mad at my professor that she put me through a ringer. I finished the last meeting we had. I met with her. You know what she told me? She told me, I didn't think you would finish. I don't think you would finish the book. She was like, I was not expecting you to. I didn't sleep till like 2 or 3 in the morning every single day reading it. And just weeping. No, not weeping, but like definitely just stop. My book was this thick, and it was like yay big. The font was like this small, and like no spacing. And I was just and I couldn't stop. If you told me in the past or something before that, I would read the book. I was like, you're smoking crack. Like I'm never gonna read anything like that now. And also gives you confidence again, By reading something like that, you look at any other book in existence, and you're like, I can read that. Amateurs, exactly. And it gives you perspective. And Brother Karamazov personally affected me in the biggest ways, even big personal decisions that I make or other people made, very much influenced, I guess, by what you've found, for yourself in Brother Karamazov. It changes. It is life changing to the fullest extent meaning of the word. It is life changing. It gives you more humility and kindness, and just what it means to be human. what a crazy book. I just can't. It was amazing.
I know, I'm curious, like, what is the plot?
It's blasphemy. There's no way to say it, but the way I can describe the book, I like to quote Dante Alighieri, as he said, "Do not be afraid. Our fate cannot be taken away from us." That's the summary of the book. Our fate cannot be taken away from us. It's I will say this, definitely I can see if an atheist reads the book, he'll definitely become religious. there's a high chance. It's a very religious book in many ways. It's heavily religious, just FYI. It's a religious book. It's a religious study, basically. But incredible. Definitely makes. Of course. Yeah, I've been holding long enough. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for the time. It's a very religious book, and definitely the last thing I'll say: people that read Brother Karamazov and kind of enjoy it, I'll definitely say that the big report or feedback was that it made them love God again. It made them love God again. Well, yeah. Yep. Yes. I'm sorry, what was your name? I didn't catch it.
Yara, Y-A-R-A.
Yara? A pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. It was a delight. So enough nerding about Brother Karamazov. Enough nerding about it. It can be very uninteresting to some people here, I understand. Oh,
You maybe at least sold me on that idea.
It's a life changer. No, people. Definitely not everyone should read Brother Karamazov. It is a test for your psyche. It is a big test, but.
Okay, and now that you said it's a religious book, I kind of understand why it's such a big test on the psyche.
Yeah, but it's great. It's basically.
Essentialism and things like that.
Yeah, synopsis. Why is it called Brother Karamazov? It's a story about three brothers. That's it. It's a story of three brothers.
What do three brothers do?
Very different brothers. That'll be a spoiler. And the entire one.
Don't spoil it.
Entire book. Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, not everyone should read the book. I don't recommend reading the book to everyone. I recommend this book very rarely. Like Candide, like Asmus, whatever the classical, whatever simpler books, I can always recommend to anyone. But something like this, I rarely recommend to anyone. Because I really have to be sure that person, is ready to hear me nerding out about it for so long. After reading that book, I really haven't read anything ever since. I was reading so much before I read Brother Karamazov, I stopped reading. Because I got enough reading for years. I was definitely burnt out of reading. But it's great. Whatever I say, I keep going and going on the same thoughts because I'm trying to drive home, but recommend it. Greg, would you have any questions? You're sitting very intently. But thank you for coming, yes.
You guys want to give another one at some point.
Why, thank you. Well, a little secret, I kind of want this to be my last talk.
Okay.
I was giving ACM talks every single semester since my
Is
freshman year. Every single semester I would be the invited student spotlight. And the client, I don't know. The client, probably not. I mean, I'm definitely with ACM. Well, if you schedule me in, I would love to.
Dude, please. I'm being honest. Like, I want to do this.
Oh yeah, if you you know, James.
Something I actually want to do. I'm looking for
But definitely, I've been doing spotlights for a long time, and I've given spotlights about mostly technical things, also about Golang, Git, you know, web servers. Yeah, I mean, something like that. I was giving mostly talks in that vein. Emacs. What else did I do? Have you? I don't know. I did like mostly technical talks, and I want this talk to be something more, something that really interests me, that actually I'm very passionate about. So, more philosophy, understanding of who we are. I guess I just want feedback. Do you feel, I guess, just a little bit of a clear of understanding or more deeper philosophical understanding of what computer science is? Maybe what does it mean to be a computer scientist? Who are you? Because I ask myself, am I an engineer? For example, do I consider myself an engineer? No, I'm not an engineer. Like software engineering, people say, but software engineering and software engineering has a different meaning. And it's just like slap and build. That's the meaning. It's not the engineering to the extent that it actually is by itself. Would I call myself a mathematician? I have a math degree, but I still don't consider myself like a true hardcore mathematician.
Literally yesterday you told me I'm not a math person.
Yeah,
You have a math degree.
because I didn't do the integration beat.
Yeah. I was like saying,
First of all, I can't do it. I'm not in calc sequence.
no, I know.
Yeah.
Did you have a calc sequence?
That was illegal. But do I consider myself a humanity person? Though I love philosophy and everything, I'm still very close to engineering side of things. I love coding. I love programming, making projects, solving real life applicable problems. So I think there's a part of a big, like half of me humanity person living, but yeah, not purely. And yeah, so this whole presentation was just me following my own thought process, frankly. Just as I was thinking to myself, and I was like, wait, if you learn this great tool, it's great. Just tell yourself sometimes, let's zoom out. Oh my God, it helps so much. If you're like stuck in something, zoom out. Let me zoom out for a second. Am I a scientist? Oh, definitely, yes. You know, it's in the name. I feel like a scientist, but not like a scientist sitting with like, you know, like a chemist, you know, mixing stuff, wearing lab coats and everything and doing that. So I'm not really that kind of scientist. I'm an artist. Well, we do engage in creative endeavors. We make solutions. We write elegant programs, noble, beautiful programs. But am I an artist in classical sense? Well, not really. I can like draw an ASCII art or something, right? But like, does that really make me an artist? Maybe, but it's still science, right? And it's this weird conundrum. And Yara asked this question that I found myself in, and I want to know for myself. And I thought to myself, why, that'd be so cool to talk about it. That's why I gave the topic of the art of computer science. Definitely, I've been brewing in me for years, actively making the thought process in the past couple of weeks, just like laying it out logically for other people to see. But the final point I really want to drive, doesn't matter whether it's science or not, the final point I always want to drive in was the, you know, live your life for yourself, YOLO, emphasis on your. So I knew the beginning, I knew the end. I was like, how do I feel the middle? how do I walk from there to the ending? And that's not easy. That was not easy. Again, a lot of people I talk to, a lot of resistance. A lot of resistance. Why should I care? Why does it matter? And it's bridge that gap. Oof, oof. It's effort. I hope that I did something well here. At least I try to make it both for more impressionable people and for more cynical people as well. Just keep the line so it works for both cynical, non-cynical people. But also, this Q&A will also be uploaded too. I'm also recording and I'll upload to Google Drive and I'll.
Put it on Hacker News.
Yeah, sure.
Please do.
I'll probably get like 0 votes, but.
No, I will put it on Hacker News.
Do you know my account at Hacker News?
You send me the link and I will upload it. Also, it's probably the CSW.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So, I want to wrap up in like 5-10 minutes. So if anyone has any questions, just last thoughts you'd like to talk about or just anything, I would love to. Just if you're interested still. Because again, it might be one of the last times I do talks like this. It is very demanding. I spent the entire day making the presentation, laying the thoughts out, and I was just like, I was dead. Like I remember I felt, not gonna lie, after doing the presentation, like after putting, I guess, myself through the whole thought process and doing the like extreme devil's advocate in every single step. Oh my god, I felt like physically sick because I was so exhausted, and I felt so hungry. I was comatose for like the second part of the day. So probably one of the last times I do something like big like this and very long. But if you have any questions, I'd love to hear, or just any thoughts, feedback.
I think it's really good. I like it.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
It's funny, Yara, she's one of Trevor's students.
Okay.
She's in like the Discord with us.
Yeah.
And Kevin has BWB in the Discord.
Oh, I see.
I had the Sandy come in. And she was like using it today. And I was like, have you actually met Sandy before? And she's like, no. I'm like, you should introduce me. I'm like, come to the talk tonight.
Yeah, BW, they are in a calculus class, and they have a Discord for the whole class. And one of the TAs in calculus wrote a Discord bot that basically, if you give it Sandy, like a Sandy command, it will give you one of my quotes. It extracts a quote from my website that I post quotes daily for 2 years now, almost daily, for 2 years. And yeah, yeah. If you're interested, it's my website is sandyuras.com. I think it was in the announcement. There's a fortunes page, which is I want to be like a Chinese like fortune cookies. Just open it up. So it's like, and every day it's random, like chosen by me, of course, by whatever books I read, something I read, something I thought of, and I just poop. It's like a one sentence thing usually, just a small thing, and they reflect clearly, or just what I like, what I think. What's up?
It reminds me of, you were kind of like, why do I care? What's the reason? There's something that, I've had discussions with other people about this, thought about it. It's like, I get kind of in a lot too. It's like, not everything necessarily has to have some reason to it. Things can just be, or you can just do things because they're fun, or because you want to. Everything has to carry such, like, what does this do for, like, me in my life? It can just be fun, or, like, it can just be something you, like, hear about and enjoy and think about, that sort of thing.
Yeah, do something just for the sake of doing it, for the sake of having a good time for yourself.
Why should I care about when you don't necessarily have to watch?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just listen to it because it's, like, interesting or it's fun?
Here's a hot take. All the people that just always want purely material profit for themselves and no one else, sad. It's like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know how to say lizard brain. I don't know what the way it's usually thought, but I think that's the metaphor. My favorite show of all time, Twin Peaks. Dale Cooper, the main character, I love. He said, every day give yourself a gift, a present, something to something for yourself. It doesn't have to be big or anything planned. Don't even plan it. Just in the morning, if you have a good cup of coffee, that's a gift you made for yourself because you wanted to. It makes you a friend with yourself. Now, can James be friends with James? Can Ferrangis be friends with Ferrangis? If you're not friends with, being friends with yourself, it's also a task.
I think also like the thing, it's like an Evangelion thing. They were talking about the first time I watched this, it impacted me is they were talking about like a lot of like self-hatred can come from just self, or like not even your like, what's the word for it? Like almost a self-hatred and form of like, and then when people like try to, if you hate yourself and then people try to be nice to you, you kind of write that off because if you don't like yourself, you can't trust other people to like you or that sort of thing. So then it becomes very hard to like be okay, make friends and things like that. And one of the quotes I really liked was like, you can be kinder to yourself by learning to love yourself.
You can't love anyone until you love yourself. So many people want to be loved. They ask, why do you want a girlfriend? Why do you want a boyfriend? Why do you want to date anyone? Why do you want a relationship? And it's like, I want to be loved, and that's the wrong answer. have to be willing to give love. If you're willing to give love, and you're only able to do that if you love yourself, if you have the love capacity in you, only then would you be able to give and receive love. Anything, it's a train wreck or a lust, but no love. Again, and there are many things that no matter how many times someone says or I say, many things that are just inexplicable to a person who hasn't gone through it. There are many things you cannot read from a book. There are many things that no one can even tell you what it means, or you can hear about it. You can say, yeah, that seems valid, but you can only fully understand it if you've gone through it. Same thing, like you can never explain what it means to go through a heartbreak to a person who's never gone through one. It's impossible. You cannot do it. The person who's never gone through heartbreak, they don't know what it entails in full. They can get the ballpark of feelings, emotions, what you might think, what you might feel, but they'll never get it in full. The only way to get it is to live through it. As I say, don't be scared of life, live.
Even then, when something like that happens to you, if you wait enough time, you kind of forget what it feels like, and then you can try to prepare for it again. Just still, you know what I mean? When I had like things where it's just been like horrible feelings, that it's like messed me up. I was like, okay, this is happening to me, but I'd be like, I know how to handle it if it comes again. Like I know how to deal with it. When it comes again, I just don't know how to deal with it again. So
It's
kind of decent.
it's the ability again of critical thinking, of being able to learn from experience. And if you've gone through something, it doesn't mean that if anytime anything like this exactly comes up, I'll be fine. I'll deal fine. Like from now on, I'll never make a mistake. No, it doesn't work like that. You always will trip up. You always feel like horrible at some moments of time. But the experience you've gone through, it makes the future experiences. It just makes it better. You can have the same thing. You may go through it twice, but the second time, it'll be more manageable. We only get the experience to make the future experience, to make the future events more bearable and more manageable. We're not off-writing them. We're just making them kind of easier on us. So just don't be shy of life. Live. And and also don't focus too much on living. It's kind of ironic. People that want to know what life is, that try to find the secret to life, that are trying to find the laws of happiness, they themselves miss living and are not happy. So don't overthink it either. It's a fine balance again of living, but not overthinking. Am I living? Am I happy right now? Living. What is the purpose of life? What's the meaning of life? I think the answer is pretty simple. Everything that entails with it, just to live. I mean, I forget about it too. Like though I can say it, I forget about it a lot of times. Many times I'm burning. Many times I'm just in the hole. I'm feeling like dog. Yeah, it's a human experience. But you just have to remind yourself. This is not everything. I remind myself. I try to. Sometimes I forget. That's why we have friends again. That are a support. If you're going through something, you have your friends to support you, to kind of bring you back, to tell you, and so you can bear the path easier. And when your friends go through something, you're there for them. So no person's ideal. No person is perfect. It is impossible. All we can do is just strive to it again. It's an endless asymptote. It's like a wavy asymptote, but it's getting closer. It's like, think of it as like an absolute cosine or sine function, but like with a coefficient and like you're still fluctuating, but you're fluctuating more stably until you fluctuate so little or jump so little that almost as a straight line. And that's experience. Exactly. Leibniz-Weierstrass theorem. Count of 5, we're ending the ACM meeting. On the count of 5, we're ending the ACM meeting. It is long. It is
How long did we go for?
almost 3 hours. Longest, this should be like a thing. The longest ACM meeting, you know, it should be like a challenge. Can you beat it? Can just the host?
I would like at some point find a way to beat
It should be host himself or herself going beginning to end, you know. test your endurance, host. Whoever hosting the ACM meeting.
I was actually one day in the city.
Francis is not gonna let you in. She is not scheduling you in. She was like, oh, that's your thing. Oh, we're not doing that again. And Francis keep him away then. You know,
That's cheating.
I'm having my record unbeaten, and I'm using my connections. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
What? Yeah, that's true.
Wait, what?
You said that you want your future generations to be better than you, so you have to beat your record.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll go. I mean, I'm graduate. It's surreal being a freshman. I got a really hard case of senioritis. It's like hard. It's you know, we graduate and we move away. It's crazy. I was last story and we'll end this. I was so many things changed even for my freshman year. I thought, you know, I knew things would change, you know, as the years go, but I didn't anticipate how much they'll change. From my freshman time, I guess lots of things changed. It changed on the big scale, on the small scale, just everyday things. Everything changed. It's a little maddening, frankly, because I was the first club I ever joined when I was a freshman is the KU Scientific Journal Club. It was basically a science journal. It's a club where you could read biology papers. I'm not biology. I hate biology. But it was like the first club I really liked. I remember I really liked the girl in it. I was like, sure. I was like, sure. I'll join in. And I met a student. A student named Katie and Joe, who became just my probably best friends over the college. We would have the best conversations. This style even more. Go on, and we would just lie down, look at the stars. It was the greatest thing ever. And Katie graduated 2 years ago, and she's doing masters now. And I talked to her, you know, I was like, you know, Katie, things changed. Like, Katie, do you realize I am like the last person on campus right now who even knows what the club was? It's like been to the club because there's no one else left. J-Hackers, the KU Information Security Club, it's a shadow of what it was. KU InfoSec Club used to send people to compete in nationals, regionals, just across US. They paid for the whole trip, you know, lodging, everything, and they're doing none of that now. It's a sad club with 2 people coming to meetings usually, just the president and vice, or something. It's sad, or maybe I think it's doing better now. But again, I'm sorry. Yeah, they even it got so desperate that they had to combine with. They're meeting on Teams. They even had to combine with the Edwards campus, with the Edwards offspring, because it was just dying. And I think to myself, there is no one else right now left on campus who's been to cybersecurity competitions. Like there's just literally no people that the things that that were my foundation, that brought me and made me who I am today, are just helped me through my way. And the people, it's not here. They're all gone. The things I enjoyed, they're non-existent. All the people that were my seniors and juniors friends that showed me tricks and tips and, you know, that gave me a little bit of wisdom. My friend Joe told me, do the minimum amount of effort to get an A in any class. The greatest wisdom ever. Stuff like that. And all those people were just gone. And it's a weird experience. It's a very weird experience that I didn't know it was going to be this much. And the least I can do as a senior, I guess graduating at the end of my undergraduate tenure, is to do the same, is to pass on to next years, next generations. It's the least I can do. It's only natural for us to do it. Because if that is not happening, it's a rollback, 5-10 years lost. That's what unfortunately happened to ACM, because the whole board graduated, and I was talking to ACM officers, and I told them about a lot of different ACM traditions that we had, and a lot of people don't even know about it, about the things that we used to do, about the way that, you know, it was structured basically, why ACM was so alluring to a lot of people, why ACM was the biggest club. ACM used to have 40, 50 people average every meeting. But why was that? Because traditions. And unfortunately, those traditions are lost because there is no transition of knowledge. There is no smooth transition of knowledge. What we have here, the number of people, it was actually just old ACM. At least, I wouldn't say old was better than you, and that's not the intention here. I'm sorry?
I said I miss the old ACM.
Yeah, you know, an old man yelling at the clouds, you know, the sky. No, again, and just me personally, trying and telling what tradition's been to, trying to talk to people, I guess, about the philosophies and things that might be more interested in, because we get very occupied in our field. You know, a year, 2, 3, 4 years can go by, and people being comp sci in their major and never getting out, and that's being all they know. I just want people to know there's more to life, and we had that, you know, telling us, and that's the least I can do. It's just providing the same kindness and attention that was given to me. And I wish you all do the same. When you in years, on the time, if you feel, I really wish that you do the same. That's the only way that the newer generation, the people that follow us, can be better. The only way that things can progress. I have a lot of beef with the ECS. A lot of things in ECS I think are not done properly and with a little bit inconsiderate, but that's a whole nother talk. And be kind. Be kind to yourself, to people around you, to people come after you. Best you can for them. But again, don't sacrifice yourself for anything. Nothing is worth the sacrifice, ever. Not love, no project is worth killing yourself over. No grade is worth damaging your mental health, just ruining it. Nothing is worth that. Be yourselves. Be Bobik, be James, Brangus, be Drake. That's all I can say. YOLO, you know, YOLO. I'll still finish with YOLO. Thank you. This is the true believers. The true believers. Thank you all. Again, thank you all for coming tonight. It means the world that you again, that you took the time tonight, and it's been, I must confess, an absolute pleasure having you here. It's an absolute delight, so thank you.